Hello, hello.
Hey, Christine.
Looks
Ready
like
for the big
we're
show tonight?
right on time here.
Hey, Christine. Oh,
Can you hear
hello,
me?
hello. Hold on. Big show tonight.
Right
Hey,
on
Christine.
time
Hold on, I
here.
got something going on here. Hey, Christine. Ready for the big show tonight?
Right on time here.
Oh, I got everything turned on. So funny. Okay, Christine, so yours.
Sounds like there was a lag. I kind of don't have the screen here. I've got for your screens there. Okay. All right, we all set to go?
Yeah, set to go.
Well, welcome everyone. I'm Christine from Retirement Side Hustle Club. And tonight we're going to talk with Mike about self-directed IRAs and how this can help out your investments and help you make some more money in your retirement.
Nice.
Tax-free money. So take it away, Mike.
Okay, cool. Let me just go ahead and get my camera going here. Okay. So, Christine, why don't you tell us a little bit about your retirement side hustle club, and we can start right there.
Okay, it's mainly geared toward retirees or soon to be retirees who are retired or want to retire, but they just feel like they don't have quite enough money. And I'm in that same boat while I was. I retired 3 times. I kept going back to work, trying to do different things to make some extra money. And finally, I took the big leap. But before I did that, I started looking for some digital online income opportunities, which I found with my club, and we talk about them. But one of the things I also want to get more into is the investment side. I had a self directed IRA probably 15 years ago at a job I was working, and I didn't really do anything with it. I think at the time I didn't know what to do with it, so I let it lapse. But now I have like a stock account and I did open up a new IRA account and I'm looking for some good ideas to get started with it to help fund my retirement fund.
Perfect, perfect. Well, you're in the right place.
Good.
So, my name is Mike Rosica. I've been investing in real estate for 30 years. I got into the non-performing note space back in 2007, and my mentor, who was a pretty sharp guy, said, "Listen, you've got a 401k from work. You got 100 grand in there." And he goes, "I want that 100 grand." And I'm like, "Well, I can't touch it until I'm 59 or 60 years old." And he's like, "Well, yes, you can. Go look up what a self-directed IRA was." And that was back in 2007. And I started poking around and I'm like, "This is unbelievable. How come I've never heard about this?" I had to hear it from my mentor who told me, "I want your 100 grand." And I figured out how to open up the account, send him money, and he was giving me non-performing notes. It was fantastic. Um, and then it actually dawned on me, and I'll be going through this in depth tonight and next week about using IRAs to not only for my own personal gain in retirement, but I could actually teach people how to open up their IRAs, turn them into investors, and then use their capital for my investments. And that's been my passion now. Well, I've been going at that 19 years now with self-directed IRAs. I want to get 1 million people to open up self-directed IRAs. That's my passion.
It's a giant goal.
If I, it's one person at a time. But if I can get people excited enough where not only are they going to open up their own retirement account, but then they're going to tell 5 people. I want to have that 1 million person impact to really put it to the government because we've had these accounts a long time available to us, and they have done zero to educate the country. about these retirement accounts. And so hence this webinar. That's what we're here tonight. So I appreciate you, Christine, for getting me motivated to do this by contacting me. And
Self-interest.
and so let me go ahead and uh, make a little bit of adjustments here. And I'm just gonna do that. Um, let's see. I don't know why my camera's not showing, but who cares? Nobody wants to see me anyway. All right, so let's get going here. Um, so if you don't have a truly self-directed IRA, what does that mean? So there's a lot of companies out there actually touting that they are a self-directed IRA, but all they technically do is allow people to choose their own stocks that they want to be invested in, not just in mutual funds, but then to actually individual stocks as well. That is not a truly self-directed IRA. And I'll show you these limitations here in a minute. Um, what they are not, if you don't have a truly self-directed IRA, you're very limited in what you're allowed to invest in. And it's not the government telling you what you're not allowed to invest in. It's the actual custodian saying, listen, these are the 12 stocks that you can invest in or the five mutual funds. And that's the way it was with my 401k in at my job. I was so limited, it was ridiculous. If I told them that I wanted to go out and buy an apartment building with my retirement account, they would have laughed me out of the, the HR department. And so I had zero control. I can't control a stock valuation. All I can do is either get into it or get out of it. And somebody say, well, I can do options. Yeah, but you can't control the valuation of a stock. It's just, you just can't do it. Um, and you've got a lot of people using CDs, a certificate of deposits. Um, I pulled up some stats here on the national average 1 year locked in certificate of deposit, and it's less than 2%. That's crazy. That is just, the bank is just using your money for their own purpose. Um, with inflation, even at a normal inflation of, let's say, 3%, you're getting 2% on a CD. How do you expect your money is crap? And I'm going to show you this evening how to take advantage of these self-directed IRAs and then also take advantage of these school communities like Christine has and that I have, where we can partner up on each other's investments and share the investments. I could put 10 people together and we can buy an apartment complex. And one person only has 5 grand and another person has $500,000. Well, there's a partnership that could be formed there with the percentages of the size of the investment is proportional to the cash flow that goes back into your retirement accounts. Um, it's a fantastic way. I've been focusing on this for 20 years and partnering on so many different deals. It's really almost countless now. Um, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 year at a time. Time flies, folks. I can tell you that. It just moves fast. Now, here's the fix, and this is where I really want to focus here. Self-directed IRA is a truly directed, self-directed investment vehicle. The amount of things, it's easier to tell you the things that you're not allowed to invest in than it is to tell you all the things that you can invest in. Hey, maybe you're really good at, I don't know, understanding automobiles, vehicles, or small businesses. I'm going to get into the whole list here in a minute. Um, but the beautiful thing is Wall Street will not get any percentage of your investments. These decisions that you make are 100% yours. It's not through a brokerage account. It's only through what's called a custodian. And so let's get into this. So Congress did give us all an incentive to save for our own retirement tax-free back in 1974. Before that, there were pensions where it was up to the employer to give their employees their own safe retirement. My father had a pension and, it lasted his entire life. But it was a lot of work for the employers. And the government said, you know what? Let's take that away from the burden of the employer and let's put it onto the employee. And let's give them an incentive to generate their own retirement account. And they enacted this ERISA Act in 1974, and they have done an absolute horrendous 51 years of crappy job telling people about it. Less than 2% of the country that's 98% of the population does not use a self-directed IRA. That is sad. That is pathetic. And I blame the government. I mean, yeah, the information is out there, but it's not out there readily available. Uh, you know, and now let me get into this too. This is not tax or legal advice. I mean, why you guys would ever listen to me? I didn't even graduate high school. But this stuff is fantastic. And we got to get the word out. So the ability to invest in just about everything tax-free or tax deferred. Income and gains flow back to the IRA. So the way it works is tomorrow morning, you call up a custodian. There's about 55 custodians in the country. I've got a couple of favorites that I use, that I recommend, that I have been recommending for the last 15 or 20 years. I don't get paid for the recommendations. It's just that I want everybody to have the ability to get a very sophisticated custodian so that in the beginning you're going to be doing very not sophisticated investing. You might loan somebody down the street $10,000 so that they can start a business or $5,000 or whatever. But as you get more educated, your investments become more sophisticated, and you want to make sure that you have a custodian that can handle that level of sophistication right from the beginning. Because let me tell you what, switching out of one custodian to another when you've got 35 assets in one custodian and now you have to transfer into another custodian is no fun. And that is a serious problem that we all have run into, and it could take months to unwind these things. So,
My camera fell off.
what's that?
My camera.
Oh, sorry about that. Um, so your money goes into the custodian, you find an investment, you tell the custodian, hey, I want to invest in this, and they send a direction of investment out and then they would send a wire and make the investment through the custodian. You are not allowed to touch that money. It's done through the custodian. And then as that investment starts earning income, that income flows back into the investment. When you sell that asset 2 years later, all of the proceeds go back to the custodian. You are not allowed to touch it. So that's what I mean by income and gains flow back to the IRA, the custodian, and then you find another investment, you send in a direction of investment. Hey, I've got a partner. We're going 50-50 on a duplex in Omaha, Nebraska. They wire the funds to the closing, and you're 50% owner, your IRA is 50% owner of that house, and your partner is the other half of that house. The capital flows back and forth from the IRA back to the custodian. Now, you're not allowed to touch that money until you're 59 and a half. It's not like you go to jail, but you will pay a penalty. And it's pretty expensive. It could be up to 30%. I've done it where I've made so much in my IRA through investments that my CPA said, listen, you made so much money. Even if you pay the penalty, take the money out of your IRA, free 59 and a half, and do what you need to do instead of taking out a loan. And I'm like, that's a pretty freaking smart idea. Um, just pay the penalty, who cares? And so I've done that on a couple of occasions where we needed the money to we had some slow years back in 2011 and 12, and we basically lived off of my IRA during that period to get us through rough times. So being penalized, taking the money out before 59 and a half is not a big deal. If you're making money. If it's not making money, you don't have any really good profits, it could be a problem. So this is another one now, a traditional self-directed IRA versus a Roth IRA. Had I to do it all over again, I would have focused more on a Roth. I was kind of rushed when I got into this note investing business. And so the traditional one was much easier to open, and there was no tax penalties or no taxable event by opening up a traditional. So the difference, when you open up a traditional, and let's say you fund it, you're allowed to put in like $7,000 a year. When I put $7,000 into a traditional IRA, if I made 100 grand that year and I'm taxed on $100,000 with my job, by putting in $7,000 that year for the year of 2025, I would only pay taxes on the $93,000, and the seven goes in pre-tax money. When I put $7,000 into a Roth, that becomes a taxable event. I still pay taxes on the entire $100,000 that I made on my salary, but that $7,000 is taxed the day that I put it in there. And so now I only have, let's say I'm taxed at 30%, I only have $4,000 in that Roth IRA now. But that Roth, that $4,000 sitting in my Roth can now grow tax free. So if I bought a house and I made $10,000 off that 4,000 bucks, that $10,000 in profit stays in my IRA tax free. And when I take it out when I'm 60 years old, I take it out and I spend it. I've already paid tax on the $4,000 seed money, which used to look like 7,000, but a taxable event. And now I only have to pay taxes, or I only had to pay taxes on the 4 grand. The 10,000 I made in profit, free money. Now that 10,000 and I've got 4,000 in there, that's 14,000. I can go out and invest that over and over and over again until I turn 59 and a half, or I could go all the way until I'm 73 when I'm actually forced to take out minimum distributions. But in a Roth, you're not forced to take minimum distributions because at some point in a traditional, that the government wants their money. And so they put a cap at your age of, they just extended it out to be 73 years old. The traditional will start to become forced on the amount, a certain percentage of your IRA every year. A Roth is not forced. Two completely different animals. Each one has its purpose. The reason in the very beginning I started a traditional instead of a Roth was because I was already self-unemployed in 2007 when I started investing in this non-performing note business. And I didn't have the money, or I didn't want to lose the money to make it a taxable event. And so I said, you know what, let me just open a traditional. I'll open up a Roth next year. And it never happened, or it happened several years later. Things could have been very different. So that's the difference between a traditional and a Roth, two completely separate animals, and a very interesting differences. Because if you're really accelerating your profits, the Roth is definitely the way to go. If you're buying money at 40 cents on the dollar and getting paid off very quickly, and you just keep stacking in your Roth IRA, it's super powerful. So the things that I see people invest in is real estate, precious metals, gold and silver, crypto, private placement, memorandums, businesses, hard money loans, rentals, rental properties, rental income. All of these type of assets, like if you're investing in precious metals, that metal has to be off-site. You can't buy a gold coin and then leave it in your pocket and walk around with it. That money has to be in, and there's all kinds of stuff that you can look this up. I'm not going to get into the real crazy details. The way I do it is I actually have a trustee and a trust opened up with my custodian so that the custodian funds the trust and then the trust holds the assets. And the trust holds the assets with a trustee, which is a real person you better trust. Hence the word trustee. And so if I'm buying gold and silver, that coinage or those that bullion is sitting with the trustee and not with me. Same thing let's just say rentals. And I see a lot of people violate this. They don't even know that they're actually doing a prohibited transaction, but they'll buy a rental and then they'll go over there every 2 weeks and cut the grass. Can't do that. You have to hire someone. You have to have a paper trail. If you're owning rentals in your IRA, you need a vendor, an outside vendor to do the work on these properties or on these businesses. I can't use my IRA to open up my own ice cream shop. Um, I can invest in George's ice cream shop, but George has to do the work. My money has to be passively used by George and I can't go over there and scoop ice cream when he has to go out of town. Um, those are like I have here, no touch. These are you can't touch the assets and the money. Uh, and so everything goes through the custodians. And it's actually easier that way. Like when I'm buying non-performing notes, uh, what's our business plan there? We buy these non-performing notes from the bank. We look at the collateral files, look them over, and then we put everything into a safe deposit box, and we call an attorney in that state, and we start foreclosure. The attorney handles everything. The attorney is our vendor. And it's just like flipping a house. I've got a contractor, and that contractor is over there working on a house. It's not me. I've got a paper trail to say, listen, my attorney started foreclosure. My attorney did the loan workout, and the loan workout gives the borrower the ability to make payments directly to either my trust or make payments directly to the custodian. Using a custodian, I found is very difficult. This is talk about some advanced type of investing. Using a trust for checkbook control and to hold these assets inside of a trust and having a local bank handle the account is fantastic. Everybody says, well, what if the custodian steals all your money? Well, first of all, they're all chartered as difficult as a bank is to charter. It's very difficult to open up a custodian company. And also, I like to hold hard assets in my trust. And so I want my bank account, like if my trustee decides to you walk away with my money, he can only I keep a very small amount of money in my bank account. And that's because I'm asset rich and cash poor. That's the way I want it to be. That's a safety thing. That is something that I learned early on. As the money stacks up inside of my IRA account, I'm out looking for more assets that I can purchase once I hit a certain stack point. So I want to be asset rich and cash poor. And what does that also do? That keeps me on my toes looking for more stuff to buy, more deals. And now that usually means meeting more people, talking to more people about deals, just like I'm talking to you all here tonight. Maybe you guys have a deal and say, hey, this would be perfect for Mike's IRA. I'm going to get a 200% return in 6 months or some ridiculous amount. Again, next week, I'm actually going to do a deep dive on people that are out there flipping and using other people's money to buy investments and everything. And if you guys are on YouTube, please hit the like button. I'm uh, very interested in seeing how YouTube handles these videos. That's brand new to me, streaming on this tonight. Everybody that's on YouTube, I would love to have you come in and join the Zoom. And I've got somebody monitoring my YouTube channel right now. If there's any questions on YouTube, I'll be able to answer those questions at the end. I am going to do a Q&A in a few minutes. And so back to this. Using a custodian, I find it to be very clumsy. Typically, if I find a deal, usually the first one to close the deal wins. And if it's a, I don't know, uh, if it's a business that is looking for startup capital, the first 50 grand in gets the returns. And who knows what the returns could be, hopefully ridiculous amount of money. But the first 50 grand wins. Well, if I have to go to my custodian and say, please, custodian, I need my 50 grand. Well, we need to look over the documents to make sure that this is papered correctly and that the entity is drawn up correctly so that we can put this into our books. That's horrible. And that could take weeks, and it does take weeks. I just did a deal where I have a couple of different accounts, and I used my custodian to fund my other account to fund a real estate deal, and it took 2 weeks for them to send the paperwork back and actually approve the purchase. If I'm using a trust or if I'm using an LLC for checkbook control, boom, I write the check today, hand it to the seller today, and I'm the first 50 grand in. That's the way I like to do it. But like I said, this is sophisticated. This setting up a trust is not, if this is an irrevocable trust, and getting custodians to even understand what it is that I'm trying to accomplish can be difficult. Um, I used to have my money at one custodian, and they were great. They were the biggest custodian out there. They had wonderful staff. The people were knowledgeable. They were doing some sophisticated investing. And then as those people got older and started to retire, they started hiring new people, and they weren't giving them the training that the old people had just from experience. And I don't want to get into naming names or anything, but I literally had to move out of that custodian into another one because I wanted to do this trust. And they're like, what the heck are you talking about? We don't do that. We don't allow that. The only type of deals that they allowed were people lending to flippers, fixers, and flippers for hard money loans. That's the only thing they understood. And I was doing some crazy stuff with this non-performing note business, and I wanted to have 200 or 300 notes being held at my trust, inside my trust, and not inside my custodian. And so I actually had to pack my bags and move, and it was painful. It was painful to get these two entities who hate each other to talk to each other because they're in competition with each other. It was a horrendous um, transformation or transition, and I don't want to see you guys go through that. This should be seamless and smooth, and you can do this. We have systems set up for this. Let's see. Okay, so buying property inside of your retirement account. The trick with this one, folks, is partnering up with other people. Um, your IRA is allowed to partner with a non-IRA investor anywhere in the country. So let's say you've got, and I know a lot of investors that are invested in Ohio. Let's just say Ohio. And they are actually boots on the ground in Ohio. And I'm over here in New Jersey, and I've got 100 grand. and they've got 20 grand, and we can buy a house in Ohio very comfortably for $120,000, turn that into a rental. So they would get 20% of the income and I would get 80% of the income, or whatever however the ratio works out. And I accumulate that one rental. I've got we got a $120,000 rental. It's generating 1,200 bucks a month. That my partner, my boots on the ground, gets 20%. He's a non-owner, non-IRA participant in this partnership. He's using it for food money. I'm using it to grow my retirement account. We start collecting these houses, and then every time the $1,200 comes in, let's just say the split works out where he gets 22,000 and I get 78,000, 780 bucks, and he gets whatever the remainder. And we start collecting these things, or I start collecting these things with other people to get my portfolio up to a rental portfolio of, let's say, 10 rentals in Columbus, Ohio. As these properties appreciate, we just continue working this process, collecting these properties, sell off some, buy some more, four houses, red hotel, that kind of thing. Um, Collecting these houses in your portfolio happens quickly. 2 years, I don't probably have to tell you, 2 years goes by in a heartbeat. The next thing you know, you turn around and you've got four of these things now. Um, you could sell the whole portfolio to one investor, or you could find one investor who has a whole portfolio and buy that entire portfolio from them by going out and finding other people that have self-directed IRAs, partnering up with them, and then taking down that entire portfolio as a percentage. It can be done, it has been done, but like I said, 2% of the country uses these things, and that's horrendous. That is just terrible. Yeah, good. I'm seeing a few questions roll in. Guys, go ahead and fill up the chat window or the Q&A with questions as I go along, and then I'll be able to get to those in a little bit. Partnerships, I would say, is probably the most powerful part of this entire process because who can sit around and make $7,000 contributions a year and wait until you get 100 grand to go out and buy a house, or 200 grand or 50 grand or whatever? Getting into a partnership situation is fantastic. I just did a partnership with another guy, and we lent somebody $55,000, 27 and a half out of his IRA, 27 and a half out of my IRA. And so that's 27.5 and 27.5. And we're going to get a nice return once this property sells. It was kind of a hard money rehab loan. And when that money comes back, now I'm going to be sitting on 35 instead of 27. I'm going to be sitting on 35. Now I got to get that 35 back out on the street. If you look at it as your monthly job to go out and find these deals, that's the fun part. Because now you have to go out and talk to people. You have to go and belong to Christine's retirement side hustle club. And she's seeing deals in there where people are talking about different types of rental property, let's say, or um, small business startups, and people need capital to get these deals done. And some people might not qualify to get a mortgage on these things, but they qualify through you as a private lender, and these deals are getting done. There was one guy, my custodian, who started off at he was 55 years old, and he started off doing the exact thing that I was talking about in Columbus, Ohio, and surrounding area. He has now over 200 rentals that he started buying these things with partnerships, and then he was buying these partners out, and he owns 200 rental properties in his portfolio, totally outshadowed his own income that he was working at. He's probably retired now, um, on a yacht somewhere. It's it's that powerful. What you focus on expands. What you don't focus on doesn't expand. It's just, people just, I've done it myself. I just go to work, come home, have a beer, and just like wait till tomorrow. Um, I'm so glad that I ended up buying my first rental, and then I'm even more happy now that my mentor introduced me to these self-directed IRAs. And he did actually get his hands on my 100 grand. He called it. He's like, I want that 100 grand, man. And he did get 97 of that, 93 of that. I had 7,000 outstanding, um, left over. So private lending is huge when we're talking about anything that you can secure. You never want to do an unsecured loan. I've done a couple, and I've gotten lucky, and then I've done a couple where the borrower went bad, and that was unfortunate. Um, Inside my IRA and outside my IRA. Uh, I had to take somebody's jet ski once because uh, wasn't making payments, wasn't answering his phone. I had a trailer hitch on my work van, and sorry, dude, gotta take your jet ski. Anyway, I don't know if you want to go down that rabbit hole or not, but you want to do loans that are secured by something. I don't care if it's a $10,000 guitar or a $20,000 watch. Take the watch. That way you get your money back. It's pawn shop 101. And pawn shops make money, and this is technically the same business. You can become a pawn shop in your retirement account. I never really said that before. Um, let's see. Okay, so and this, I'm like I said, I am going to cover in depth next week. I love this part, um, because this helps me get to my objective. My objective is to get 1 million people to open up their freaking retirement accounts. And if you're a rehabber and you go through my programs and you learn this stuff inside out, you probably do a lot better presentation than I can to civilians that are looking for an 8 or a 9% return, which is way better than a 2% return they're getting in their CDs. And say, yep, the money's going to be locked up for 2 years, just like a CD, but you're going to get 8% return, or you're going to get 10% return, or whatever you can afford to give out and still make your rehab work. If you're a fix and flipper, you can raise unlimited capital for your deals. I'm actually going to go through. I've got a local guy over here who is a fix and flipper, and he's got before and after pictures. He's a warrior, been doing it, I don't know, I think 30 years. And he's a neat guy. Hopefully, I'll be able to get him on if he's not out there swinging a hammer at 8 o'clock at night. And we're going to go at this in depth because when he heard my presentation, he's like, you got to tell me how to do this. And so he's part of my education program, and I'm teaching him all of the nuts and bolts so that he can go out and raise unlimited capital for his deals because he's finding deals, but he doesn't have the money. He's got the crews, he's got the experience, he's been at it 30 years. He's got a whole list of houses that he's gone through and rehabbed and flipped successfully. He knows what he's looking at, he knows what he's looking for, and he knows what things cost as far as fixing and preparing these houses for sale. He's got a great eye for the market that he plays in and the type of homes that he likes to work in. And he's psyched. And that's going to be all about next week. That should be an interesting week. But if you can raise unlimited capital for your deals, it's the way this works is when a fix and flipper finds a lender and pays the lender back the way they said they would, in a timely fashion, the way they said it would be in a timely fashion, that lender always wants to have his money out. And if you prove as a fix and flipper that you do what you say you're going to do, the lender is going to be very happy to keep his money out on the street with this fix and flipper. And usually when you're talking to a lender, they have more money than they say they have because that's how they we'll start off small. Here's 20 grand. Here's enough money to rehab that kitchen. And here's 30 grand. Rehab the kitchen, rehab the bathroom, paint the carpet, and get the thing on the market. Give the money back. Give the guy his 8 or 10% return. He's ecstatic. And now he's like, just so you know, I don't know how many houses you're still looking at, but I do have a little bit more money than what I told you originally. Because now he's like, damn, I got to get this stuff out. This guy really can produce and he knows the business. Let me give him 200 grand if he can give me the same numbers. Because that's the button. People get like, well, if I can get 8% return on 20 grand like that, what if I gave him 200 grand worth 400 grand? How many more deals can this guy get done? And how much more money can I get out onto the street with this person to get that kind of return? And now we're talking about real sums of money coming back into their retirement account, where now they're getting wealthy. And it just grows and leaps and bounds. And you'll be very pleasantly surprised that most people have more money than they ever let on in the beginning, if you do them right. I'm going to go in depth next week. I can't wait to do it. Something I've been wanting to do for quite a while now. And my buddy Steve is going to be a pleasure to listen to as well. So this is an interesting thing that I looked up. This $2.1 trillion dollars. So this is exactly where I was in 2007. I had quit my job in 2005. I had $100,000 sitting in a 401k that I had stocked up at work, and then I quit my job. If you quit, get fired, or get laid off, and you had a 401k, there's $2.1 trillion of that money just sitting in these dead 401ks. That's where I was. I had 100 grand in there. And then one night, my wife and I are at a family wedding, and all the kids gathered around Uncle Mike and Aunt Mary, and they made us their tell them an IRA story. And when I told my niece and nephew, they're like, we have four 401ks between the two of us. Um, my nephew and his wife. Can you teach us how to get that money into our basically into our hands to use for whatever? And so I went on to tell them the story, and they were ecstatic that they could finally close these four accounts, roll that money over into a self-directed IRA, and then they went out and bought notes with us. And there's $2.1 trillion of money that people don't know that they can roll these accounts. This is the fastest way to fund a self-directed IRA or a solo 401k, which we'll talk about another time. To fund, instead of funding at $7,000 a year as contributions, I rolled over in one quick move $100,000. It was exactly 100. It was like 100 and 500, $100,500. I rolled that into a self-directed IRA. Within 2 weeks, I had access to that 100 grand, and off to market I went. And it was freaking awesome. It was unbelievable. Now they're saying the source that I found was 32 million accounts. So that's probably 32 million people. Or even if one person has two accounts, there's still 15 million people don't know what to do with these dead 401ks. 15 million people. People that you could hunt down. There's ways that you can hunt these people down. It's very easy. And you can get your hands on $2 trillion by helping people out. Um, it, there's a source of cash right there. Uh, Private lending. Now, this is a very simple, like I said, that one custodian, they want to keep it simple. They don't want to educate their employees. They just say, you know what? The only thing you can do is a hard money loan backed by a mortgage. And so you've got you've got this person over here who finds a house, and then they find an old guy like me and say, "Hey, listen, I found this house. Here's the deal. I buy it for 200. I put 60 into it. That's 260, and I sell it for 450. Let's do that deal. I'll give you 8% or I'll give you 10%." Some people say, "Listen, I'll split the profit with you." I don't think that's a good idea, because people are good enough with an 8% return. But hey, it's your money. It's your business. Maybe it's your nephew and you want them to succeed. Um, or they're, whatever the case is. You lend them the money, you are secured on a position on that property as a mortgage, and you have an attorney draw up the mortgage, costs 1,500 bucks. You get that mortgage recorded at the county office. We teach all that. And then that's that's like lend the money and continue on going about your business. You really don't have anything to do until that house sells, and now it comes time to either split the profit or get your interest rate return that was promised to you, get that money back into your retirement account, and then go out and do it again. Very simple, very simple to very passive. as well. Um, oop, okay, jump. Um, so now all that money flows out of your retirement account into the job site. The money gets used, and then at closing, your mortgage that was written on that house needs to get satisfied at closing, and your retirement account gets funded. Now, this is cool. So you can go onto the county website and actually search for people that have received a mortgage satisfaction in the last 12 months and people that have gotten their money back. They put 200 out, now they've gotten 220 back. That's a private lender. That's a very searchable person who lends out and wants his money back and lends out and wants his money back. You can find these people going through the county records. How many county records are there? 3,000 counties in the country. And probably more than half of those county records are searchable. And if you know what to put in to search those documents for the benefit of, and then you look up all the different custodians that are out there, there's 50 different custodians, and you find these lenders that have just received a satisfaction of mortgage, there's your private money lender right there. It's like that easy. Um, so you create this mortgage, the terms are written up front. This is a 2-year mortgage with a balloon at the end at an 8% interest rate. And now you can require real collateral, which is a mortgage. I mean, that's my business for the last 20 years is getting into the mortgage business. Um, it works really well. Um, and it's the most easiest form of lending. It's the most easiest form of investing, really, unless you go out and just buy a chunk of gold and sit there and wait for it. I mean, gold has gone up 70% in the last year, which is phenomenal. Um, okay, so how investors protect their loans with a promissory note, terms plus default. Like I said, the mortgage or the deed of trust is recorded at the county level where the property is located. So you got doing somebody doing a fix and flip in Columbus, Ohio. You get an attorney through our network that creates that mortgage, uh, puts you on title on that property. If anything happens, um, if the borrower, the fix and flipper defaults, you have the right to take that house and anything that that house is worth. Now, of course, the house better be worth a lot more than what you lend on it. I recommend lending at a 70% loan to value of the current value of the house. Make the fix and flipper come up with the rest just for safety. And that's a conservative loan to value with 70% of the house, but you'll come up with your own numbers. Um, and then you would put that into a servicing company. You don't have to. You can just wait until there's a closing. That's probably what I would do. But so this is if you are raising money. Like I said, next week's webinar is going to be on this exact subject. People that say, "Oh, I want to buy, I want to get into real estate, but I don't have any money." Most people don't know that self-directed IRAs exist. By educating people, proving to them, like this guy Steve is going to show next week, how he has everything laid out for a future investor to go, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. I like this. I can go and look at these properties and say, yeah, it did actually sell for this much and he bought it for this much. It's right there on Zillow. I do it all the time. And that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching next week. Please cut out a time slot for that next Wednesday at 8 o'clock if that's something that you're interested in, or if you actually know anybody that is wanting to raise capital for anything, for a startup, for a business. Next week's webinar is going to be for you, all about getting other people to open up these retirement accounts. And it helps me fill my goal of 1 million people. I don't know how many people I've helped with this so far. I should probably sit down and try to figure that one out. But I want to open this up now to Q&A, and let's play a little Stump the Chump. Oop. Okay, so let's see. So Christine, I actually want to bear with me. I'm just going through the questions here too. Mhm. Okay, good. I see you're unmuted. Good. Um, so let's see. What do we got here? Retired from the federal government, can I roll my TSP over to a self-directed IRA without creating a tax event? So, what creates a taxable event, Edward, is the choice between rolling it over into a traditional versus a Roth. What I like to do, what I've done, and what I will continue to do, even though I'm an old guy, is I have my traditional, and then every year I roll over a portion of it into my Roth and I pay taxes on that event. That's a taxable event. So in your situation, you could put it 100% of it into it. I don't know anything about federal government programs, but I'm assuming that you should be able to roll that um, if you quit, got fired, or got laid off, or retired. Um, that money should, and that's a good question for a custodian, um, to make sure that you actually, I don't know what a TSP is, um, but you can roll that money into, if it's allowable, you can roll it into a traditional, and then every year say, you know what, I don't mind paying taxes on 10 grand. You roll over 10 grand to the IRA, into a Roth IRA, and then you start investing from your Roth. And then the next year, hey, you know what? I don't mind taking a sizable taxable hit this year. Let me roll 30 grand over and do it that way in chunks so that you're not getting clobbered. But that means you have to have two accounts, which is no big deal. And that's what I would do. And what if you lose money on a deal? What happens with your account? Well, if you lose money on a deal, you lose money on a deal. Your account balance varies, um, but you have to show where that, how that loss was actually incurred. And if it was incurred through, you know, I lent somebody 100 grand and I only got 80 back, that's up to your accountant and your custodian to actually handle that loss as well. On lending, how do you prevent the flipper to get your money and from several others and run away over leverage borrowing? The asset would not cover, I assume. Let's see, Nelson. How do you prevent the flipper to get your money and from several others and run away? Well, that's why you would do a very hard analysis. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but you need to know what the value of the house is the day you lend it. And usually the house is going to be pretty rough and need to get a realtor in there to say, listen, what price does this thing value sit at as is? Or what value is it going to be when it's stripped and, empty and then like the other guy said, what if the contractor runs away? Well, you still have the asset to go after through foreclosure with the mortgage. I mean, that's why banks do what they do. And banks have been doing what they do for hundreds of years. They lend on the asset and they look at who's taking out the mortgage. So, like this guy, Steve, who's coming on next week, he has done so many of these flips. Like, he could drive by a house and say that house needs $60,000 worth of rehab. This is what I would offer on it, and this is what it's worth when it's done. He's done so many of these things. It's that's a person who's not going to run away with your money. And it's all protected with that mortgage. Okay, so Mike Connor says a TSP is a savings program. Thanks, Mike. Federal military personnel invest into. It stands for Thrift Savings Program. Perfect. Its parent program is Federal Employment Retirement System. The only way to create a taxable event is if you're converting a regular TSP account to a Roth. Yes. So, and I appreciate that, Mike. I really do. Um, most like let's go back to this slide here. So this money right now, all these 32 million people have their money in a dead 401k. That's what this stands for, a forgotten 401k account. These 401ks are all pre-taxed money, meaning that money has gone directly from the top of your paycheck into a 401k, which is essentially a traditional 401k. Now, there are traditional 401ks and then there are Roth 401ks. I have yet to see an employer actually put in place a Roth IRA just because most employers are not savvy on this. And I don't even know how many custodians actually offer that. But IRAs custodians are savvy and do offer Roth IRAs. But all this $2.1 trillion is sitting in traditional money, in traditional accounts. So that for them to roll anybody who has these 32 million people to roll that money into a Roth would be a taxable event. So it depends on what account you're going to roll that money out of that TSP into either a traditional or a Roth IRA or both. Like I said, most people that are really into this have two accounts. They've got a traditional and they've got a Roth, and they move that money from the traditional into the Roth, pay the taxable event in preparation for retirement as well. Um, Meaning once that money sits in a Roth for 5 years, they can take it out tax free. It's gone. Just take it out. Pretty sweet. It's very sweet actually, and it's worth focusing on, folks. It really is worth putting in the energy to actually look at this. So Nancy, hi Nancy, can you move a traditional account into? I don't think you were planning on saying adorable. Can you move a traditional account into? Hmm, Nancy, I'm going to actually allow you to speak. I don't know if you've got your microphone on or not, but let me see if I can unmute you. Hey, Nancy, can you unmute yourself?
I gotcha.
Hey, how you been?
Good. How are you?
Great, great.
Um, so I'm asking about the traditional move to a self-directed IRA without a penalty, or is there always going to be a penalty to pay to move the money?
Can I move a traditional account into a
A
Roth?
self a self-directed.
So you're saying a traditional account like a bank account?
No, a traditional um IRA. Is that what I'm saying? A traditional IRA into a self-directed?
Yes. So most traditional, like I said, just like this 2.1 trillion that we're looking at, most IRAs are traditional. And so you would move the traditional regular IRA into a self-directed traditional IRA. And then if you transfer from the traditional into a Roth, that's when you get taxed. So
Okay.
let's say you had just a regular retirement account,
Hmm.
which, is very simple, and that's what most Americans that are using IRAs have. And then if you wanted to move it into a truly self-directed IRA, you would pick the custodian that you choose and tell them, listen, I want a self-directed IRA. I've got $50,000 sitting in this traditional regular IRA, not a self-directed IRA. They would move it in, and then that would not be a taxable event. The only cost you would have would be the cost of opening up that retirement account
Gotcha.
with the custodian.
Perfect.
And
Thank you.
then, yeah, and then you're on your way. Yeah, cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Thanks for the question. All right, folks. Well, I don't
Hey,
know
Mike,
if there's, yes.
someone in the question section is asking about if you want to take out money for a vacation, how is that handled? Is that taxed?
Okay, let me take a look. Thanks for that. I
Sure.
appreciate that. Uh, I don't know where my question. Oh, here it is. Q&A box. Let's say I have an IRA or 401k and investing out of it and returns are good back into the respective account. How would I take some money out to, let's say, well, Mike Connors, how old are you? If you're 59 and a half, there would be no penalty. And if it's traditional, then you're going to take that money out of the traditional, and then at the end of the year, you're going to have to pay taxes on that money as ordinary income. If it's a Roth and you've had it open for 5 years and you're 59 and a half or older, you can take it out and go wherever the heck you want, um, without worrying about anything. So let's see. Yeah, so that money that you're taking out, um, is it's your money, but if it's a traditional, you have to pay taxes on that money, um, if you're old enough. And I've done it. I've made fantastic returns, and I was 45 years old or 50 years old. I wasn't old enough. And not only did I have to pay taxes, but I had to pay the penalty of the early withdrawal. And my accountant was like, who cares? You killed it last year, or you killed it the last 5 years. You've been stacking money like crazy. And pay the penalty and move on with your life. Don't sweat it. Um, and that's it. Christine, do you have anything else?
Nelson in the chat had wondered if it's possible to share a couple good custodians that you use.
Yeah, so and like I said, I really should not actually be doing this because I don't know, things might have changed with these custodians, but I've recommended a couple of my students go to Kamaplan. That's Kamaplan. The reason both of my students liked them was they're pretty advanced on the information. So they were using, and even though you're new to self-directing, I want to give you a custodian so that when your game goes up, they can keep up with you. Um, and so that's why I'm would want to put you in with an advanced custodian now and not have to switch you out later. Camaplan is advanced. They understand what a trust is. They get it. Their clients get it. Their clients are savvy individuals. And the reason they like Camaplan the most is some custodians, my custodian that I have right now, they look at how many assets are being held at the custodian level. So let's say I've got 10 notes at the custodian. They're going to charge me for each one of those 10 because they have to handle those 10. My students, on the other hand, have a trust. And inside the trust, they may have 10 assets inside the trust, but to the custodian, there's only one asset, which is the trust. So Camaplan only charges them for that one asset. And then they may have 10 assets inside the trust, but Camaplan doesn't need to know that information. That's none of their business because your trustee is actually running the trust. So hopefully that makes sense. They actually save money by having one trust, or let's say an LLC. I'm not crazy about LLCs because there's some rules that I think are being broken by using an LLC for checkbook control. But if someone was using an LLC, the custodian has transferred the money over to the LLC, and now, and this is where I think the rules are getting broken with an LLC, the individual account owner is actually signing the checks. And I think that's where I think that's a no-no. Because with a trust, I've got a trustee who is my arm's length transaction engineer. If I'm signing my own checks for my IRA for the LLC, I think that's I think that's kind of commingling, and I don't like that. So that's why I go for a trust. There's a few other reasons for the trust as well. First of all, an LLC has an annual fee. Also, the LLC, anybody can look up to see who the president of the LLC is. You cannot find my name on a trust. Uh, I've had it happen where an attorney general was looking me up and wondering who owns this trust. And the attorney general actually said, "Boy, I had a real hard time trying to find you." I said, "Well, that's because in my name of the trust is actually the word trust." And I said, "Well, that's because it's a trust." She says, "Oh, so it's actually a trust." I'm like, "Absolutely. Trusts are pretty bulletproof." And I don't pay an annual fee, and you can't look me up to see who the president is. Not that I'm doing it to hide anything, but what the heck? If it comes with free anonymity, I'll take it. I own rentals inside my IRA, and it's very difficult to sue someone if you can't figure out who they are. Um, So that's it, folks. I really appreciate everybody being on here. Christine, thanks for having me on. And
Thank you.
yeah, hopefully everybody got something out of this tonight. What do you think, Christine?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing, it's more of a personal thing. I have a 403B from a place I worked last year that I retired from, and I'm going to be rolling over money into a traditional IRA, which will not be taxed. And then I'm going to move some money this year into a Roth because I want to invest it.
Hmm.
And as a beginner, I'm we've talked before. It seemed like partnering up with someone is the best way to really grow your fund. If I only have a couple thousand, I don't really foresee me bringing in the returns I want. But if I can partner up with someone who knows what they're doing, like you or someone in your group,
Sure.
I can see a way to massive growth because I'm not that young, anyways. I need to make some more money quickly, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to be signing up for that company we spoke about and starting
Cool.
my own fund next week.
I love it.
So thank you very much.
Congratulations. Sweet, sweet. Well, yeah, I look forward to that growth. And yeah, there's people that are making small loans. I did one loan for um I did an earnest money deposit for a young man who was looking to do a wholesale deal. He needed 10 grand, and I lent him 10 grand. A month later, I get 11,500 bucks back. I'm like,
Sweet.
that's sweet. He got to do the deal. I made 1,500 bucks. And what do you think he did? He came back to me a month later. He says, I need 25 grand. And so I got my 25 grand out on the street now. Same deal. Hopefully I get my money back. So listen, folks, thanks everybody for being on, and check out Retirement Side Hustle Club in school and also Note Conference on the school platform as well. If you type in note investing in the discovery portion of school, there's really only two guys that come up. It's me and my buddy Rob Heitha, who have note communities, and look to see you on the inside.
Yeah, this will be played as a webinar or replay on my site, and I'm definitely going to start a new module about investing and adding self-directed IRAs in there for more information, linking to Mike's stuff. So
Yeah, cool.
be in two
Cool.
places or
And
three.
then anybody on YouTube, just drop in the comments section that you're interested in more, and we'll be in touch with you that way. I'd love to see you guys get into the community as well. And have a great night, folks.
Great, thank you.
Bye bye.